Well, President Trump just hours from the State of the Union address, and moments ago, the president wrapped up a lunch, which our own Bret Baier attended. So let's go right to the anchor of Special Report. He's still at the White House. I don't know what all you can tell us. I know some of these things are a little bit off the record on background, etc., but I guess you could describe the mood.
Well, I know there's two things I can tell you because two sentences in this lunch, and this is an annual event with the anchors who are covering the State of the Union. Every major network was there except one, and here are the two things he said that are on the record. One is describing the speech tonight and the tone of the speech. He described it as, quote, extraordinarily low-key. Which is an interesting phrase for this president, obviously. It's not usually the way he's described or how he describes things. So we'll see if it matches that. Then, as you can imagine, the conversation gets to the state of the Democratic Party in the wake of Iowa and all that has happened over the last couple of weeks. He then put on the record that he thinks that Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to run against Senator Chuck Schumer, the minority leader in the Senate, and, quote, I think she is going to kick his ass. That is the quote on the record. So those are the two things I can report on the record. What I can say, go ahead.
I was going to ask you just on that, if he thinks that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is going to run against Schumer. I'm not exactly sure when he is up. Maybe it's this next cycle in 2022. Is he basing that off of instinct, which he has great political instincts, obviously, but or does he have other information? Of course, he's still got New York connections.
I don't know the answer to that. I know that that's what's on the record. I can tell you kind of broadly that, it's a discussion about the state of the Democratic Party and where it's heading and how he feels. I can tell you that the tone in the room, he's very confident about where he sees the country, what he thinks has happened because of his leadership and the administration. And I think that you're going to see a lot of that in the speech tonight. There'll probably be a few surprises.
Does he ignore impeachment tonight?
I think there's going to be a slight mention, but not a big mention. I would venture a guess that'll be more after what we believe to be the acquittal vote tomorrow. The fact that he characterized it as extraordinarily low-key, you can read that however you want to read it. Maybe it's reverse hyping up. I don't know. But, I think judging by talking to several administration officials, I think this speech is going to be structured a lot like last year's was, and kind of a mix of the rhetoric and the storytelling with domestic policy achievements, goals, and then a foreign policy look. And you can imagine the topics, including Iran and what just transpired.
And certainly the future, our future dealings with the economic powerhouse that is China, although they are dealing with a lot of economic problems now as well. How much do you think he'll look ahead? Presidents at this point, if they're running for re-election, start to let us know, like, what would you like to achieve in a second term?
I think there will be some of that. And just again, talking to officials about this speech, it may be fairly long, and we don't know exactly how long, but it may be a little bit longer than last time around. The other thing I forgot, Dana, that's on the record is the lunch menu, which was a celery root soup, lacquered black bass, and a coconut macaroon.
That sounds better than the cheese plate we had last night waiting for those Iowa results, Bret.
At 1 a.m.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I'll see you tonight for special coverage. Thank you, Bret Baier.